Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to the IM Expo here in Katowice, Poland. And it is time to kick off our final day of Fortnite action here at the ESL Katowice Royale. That's right, yesterday we kicked off our Internationals Duos competition, and today we crown ourselves a champion. Now, all the guys on the desk are incredibly hyped. My name is Onset. I'll be hosting for the entirety of today. It's going to be our final day, gentlemen. Welcome to the desk, I should say. We'll start off with you, Lothar. You've been jumping around the back of the stage before we went live. I think we're all pretty hyped for this one. Anyway. There he goes. There he goes.
There we go. Let's go. I mean, I'm pretty hyped. You know, it's the first time we ever have a two-day competition in Fortnite, so players had the opportunity to just, you know, get back to the hotel, think about the strategy. What do we have to do different? What is our average? What can we do to get into that top placement?
And in the middle there, my main man, it's Baller. He's here. He's kicking things off. How are you feeling about today, buddy?
Fantastic. We saw some amazing games yesterday. Everybody, just like Lothar said, was feeling it out, feeling exactly how 7 games is going to be. 7 games is a lot. So everybody knows. I'm feeling the temperature in the room already. It's a lot more reserved. Everybody's like, okay, here's where I'm at now. Here's what I got to do. And we'll see. It's going to be so much fun crowning a champion today.
I know, man. We get that a beautiful thing to do is, as I say, crown ourselves a duos champion. But one thing we also want to do is get you guys involved at home as well. You should know by now how to do it, but if you don't, here's a reminder. Use that hashtag ESL Katowice Royale. Send us pictures in from where you're watching the tournament. Let us know who you think is going to win this Internationals Duos competition, because as it stands, we're still not 100% sure ourselves. So let us know who you think is going to be up there fighting for that title at the end of the day. But gentlemen, I mean, we should talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, shouldn't we? I mean, the two guys who made a real statement, Vinny and Zexro, those guys, top of the leaderboards going into today. Can they continue that kind of form, though?
Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to that. They averaged at 58 points per game. That is crazy. Like, that's basically a victory almost every single game out of 7, right? The consistency is there. You can see it. They're taking the first place. But right behind them, we have also VP with just average 51 points, which is crazy to see. I love this point system.
I love it too. And you know what I love? 2 days in a row, these players all got a chance to go back and watch the VODs, watch exactly what's going on, where they're going wrong, where they're going right. And they're also going to be able to see what other players are going to do around the map, and they're going to start changing things up. So that's what I'm most excited about.
And you have to wonder if the guys who are at the top of our leaderboards at the moment might have a little bit of a target on their back. Lothar, we were talking about this in the back. Maybe a couple of teams are going to look to be a little bit disruptive early on and maybe change their landing spots and challenge these two guys.
I was actually discussing with Bala that Bala's point of view, actually say your point of view, Bala.
Yeah, I really think that the top 10 is going to be looking to really figure out how to stop those guys. They're going to put a target, just like you said, they're going to have a target on their back. The top 3 guys, VP, TSN, the Zexro and Vinny combo, they're going to be contested. They got Viking and the Waterfall houses by themselves, so I don't think people are going to let them do that.
Yeah, but my counterpoint was that, you know, we talk about Battle Royale and the mindset of players and so on, and I feel like the people who are in top 10, and they are close to Vinny and Zexro, they're most likely going to focus on the later stages of the game so they can rack the points themselves instead of sabotaging Vinny and Zexro. So there's like 2 different points of view and 2 different strategies that can happen. I would love to see, you know, just someone dropping on them to we have some early game fights, but I think will not happen.
It's going to be certainly exciting to see how everything pans out today. Obviously, we're seeing some of the replays from yesterday, gentlemen. A lot of victory royales been shared among a lot of duos. Nobody picked up more than 1 victory royale, but it has been that consistency. We saw it last weekend in our Polish competition. Consistency is key. That was 7 games. This is 14 games, which makes it even more difficult to be consistent across so many games. What have Vinny and Zexro done to put themselves at the top of that leaderboard to make themselves so consistent?
Well, one thing for sure, getting Viking and Waterfall uncontested, that's a really, really nice split. Not only getting that entire mountain, and then getting also the Waterfall houses and also all the way through, but then rotating center zone as fast as possible. You almost never see them. We haven't seen them in mid-game engagements or anything like that. So they're really focused on getting to that end game, getting those consistent placements, and then what they do best, frag out in the end game. That's all it is.
And another couple of players I want to talk about very quickly, Cripper and Boya. They've worked their way into a fantastic position today. Didn't talk about them too much in the solos competition, but these 2 guys, the duos standings are looking pretty good for them at the moment.
Both teams from E11 are actually doing work, and Cripper and Boya are at the 3rd position. Shinken and Stompy are, I think, 8th. right? And the point difference, by the way, between second and third is 1 average. 1 average.
Which is crazy.
Every single game, they are behind 1 point, which is not even 1 placement. That's 1/4 of a placement if it's a top finish, and they are finishing top. So it's insane how consistent are those players. But at the same time, I feel like we need to talk about the other players in the top 10. Since we have an example, Safev Zayd, which are 321 points, and they're 1 point behind Tomo and Item, which is like the points difference between the top 8.
I think the fact that you get 5 points for 1 elimination, and these guys are separated by 1 point, pretty much sums up how tight the competition is going to be today. Who do you think could be the dark horses for today, though? Who do you think is kind of hovering around that maybe top 10 area that you think could come in and cause some disruption?
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on Zayd and Saf, as always, Aspect and Animal as well. These guys are so consistently in the top, and they always manage to win games. We saw both of them take some victory royales yesterday, and I think they can do it again. I think they just got to continue to have those big games, those big moments.
Okay, well, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's time for my favorite part of every single show at the start. It's time to introduce one of my favorite human beings. His name is Adam Savage. He's down on the floor.
Hello, mate. How are you? You guys look amazing up there. We're all watching you in Tomato Temple. Don't they look great, guys? Look at them there. Look at them. Such handsome devils. Yeah, welcome to the show floor. As you can see, I've actually managed to find myself a seat on the front row here. I've elbowed someone out of the way. They've been escorted out of the building. Poor them. I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding. But, of course, everyone's very excited to get the show on the road here today. 7 games coming our way. I actually want to show you guys as well a bit of the stage as well. We saw it yesterday. There's some player interviews. But check this out as well. Of course, as Mark and the fellows mentioned, today it's all about playing for those trophies and that amazing prize. Check these out. Look at them glistening in the lights. These are our duo trophies. Our champion's going to walk away with these and $80,000 today. That is a lot of cheddar, guys. 80 grand. Wow. Can't wait to get things started. Obviously, first and second place, there's only 48 points in it. Anything is possible today, the way these points are structured. So I can't wait to get things started. Mark, quick question for you. Do you like my T-shirt? Look, GG. Do you like that?
It's pretty good.
GG.
It's pretty good. I'll give you that.
Goody gumdrops. Goody gumdrops. That's what it stands for, right? Goody gumdrops. Thanks so much.
Changed it up today. I understand that you look up to me as a kind of, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. You changed
Brilliant.
it up. Great.
Thanks, mate. Over to you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the tournament format for today. Some people are obviously going to be joining us for the first time. We need to explain how things work. We're sitting here talking about points, placement points, eliminations, prize, all this crazy stuff. Let's have a look at the format, though, because we've got to explain it and how important these eliminations have been. It's been highlighted by the fact that a lot of players who are sort of sat in our top 5 at the moment haven't even picked up a victory royale at the moment.
Yeah, those elims are so important, but we've definitely seen those placements just as important. After you get 25 or 25th, you start racking up a point, and then I think it's 10th or so, you get 2 points per. So it's starting to become really, really, really important to both get the max placements that you can and maximum elims that you can find. You'll see everybody on high ground looking for those elims.
Yep. To give you some context, top 20 is in the price range, right? To be top 20 after the first day, you would have to have 22 points average, and you get 22 points for 15th place each game. So that gives you a perspective how important are eliminations, because each elimination is 5 points, right? So you have 2 ways. Either you're very passive, you're getting a top 10 every single time to be in the range of the prizes, or you need to get those elims.
And you can see here as well, you know, it's 14 rounds of action. Last weekend it was just 7 to be completed before we decided who our duo's champion was. The fascinating thing to me is the fact that we're spread across 2 days here is that chance to go away last night and have a look at the VODs, have a look at how they played, and look at how other people have been playing. How big a factor is that, Lothar, going into today?
That's actually a very big factor that we didn't talk about yet. This is the new season, Season 8. Players still have the opportunity to scout out the map, see something new on the map, but at the same time, a lot of people who are not playing in the tournament, just in the community, they're discovering some new tricks. Just yesterday, someone discovered that when you use the volcanic vent and you use the vehicle at the same time, you negate all the full damage from it. So how does that change the rotations with the quad crushers, an example? I think that's a huge change, right? People might incorporate to the strategy today.
The cannonball flying, all sorts of awesome techniques are being discovered with the new map. And just like you were saying, the vent, being able to use a drift board and fly up there and then just hop off. And without having to glide. That's the most important thing. And yeah, all these tricks. Unfortunately, Speedy Gonzalez isn't at home able to bring us all the top.
He's sweating in the back thinking, I need to get a video out pretty soon. Like, it's going to be an iPhone video, I think, by the end of it. But let's talk about some of the Season 8 changes because, you know, we have seen a lot of different things already. Like you were saying, have been added and how players are using them. And one thing I want you to focus on is even from day one in the solos, the evolution of the use of these volcanic vents. Because we've seen it, people just landing there and just using it to move across the map, using it for maneuverability. But now it's almost become a battle to control those.
Yeah. We saw in one of the games yesterday, Biswell and Demo controlling an entire vent just by themselves right next to it, especially towards that end game, just staying right next to it and being able to keep people away from it. And it's not that big of a deal when somebody's right next to it because obviously you can't build on it. It immediately brings you up. So that's so important is how they're starting to fight for this. But
you can see here a reminder of what these guys are playing for as well. A prize pool of $400,000, $80,000 for that first place duo. And here is our schedule for today. As I said, 7 rounds to get through today. And the beautiful thing is, like I mentioned right at the very top of the show, gentlemen, we still don't know who is going to be taking home that first place. Even before, I think, it was after Game 6 yesterday, we were kind of thinking, okay, Vinny and Zexro, they had a 90-point lead. Everything was going fantastically well for them. We thought coming into day 2, you know, they're going to be in a very comfortable position. But then everything changed in that Game 7. One game can change it. And now it's, I think, 30 points or something, 30, 40 points between first and second.
It's actually 48.
48,
7
30,
point
40,
average.
48, close enough.
But it's, you know, as you said, one game can change the average a little bit. Let's say Vinny and Zexro just going to fail in an early game. They get 0 points for one game. That just cuts the average in practice, like in 1/3 or something like that. So it's a big thing. On the other hand, we have seen Tuxin provoked yesterday. They got the victory royale and they just jumped to 10th place right now with 35 points average. Super important for them to be in the, you know, still the fight for the prize in day 2.
Okay, talk about players who are still in the fight for the prize. We want to focus on one player that we kind of touched on at the start of the show, and his name is Boya.
My biggest strength is probably like that I'm really smart and like my aim is very, very stable. My biggest weakness is probably like being like too focused on like just one thing and just like being too impulsive and momentum based. You play creative, Kovacs, solo squads, you play with your teammates, and then you like actually look at what you do wrong and you realize it instead of just be like, this game is stupid and stuff like that. My friend told me like, yo, this game is sick. And I played like 1 or 2 games in Season 2. I was like, yeah, this game ain't it. But then in Season 3, they convinced me to come back and I was hooked. The coolest experience is definitely meeting all the new people. That's really nice. Any interesting hobbies outside of the video game? I used to skate a lot, but like right now I'm just focusing on the game.
There he is, and guys, Boya, you heard what he had to say. Obviously, you know, found his way into Fortnite around Season 2, Season 3, and here we are in Season 8, and he's competing on the big stage.
He's competing on the big stage. Everybody knows him from that hand cannon clip in the Winter Royale, and here he is again. He's trying to make his mark on this tournament. He's trying to vie for that first place, Lothar.
I think him and his teammate were talked like about every single tournament. They are being perceived as one of the most consistent duos in Europe. It's actually insane. Denmark in general gets so many pro players in every single game, although it's a small country. It's kind of crazy to think about it like this. The ratio of pro players and normal citizens, you know?
See, Lothar's thinking of maybe moving over there and just thinking, yeah, maybe this will just add a little bit more placements. Not going on hard on you after last weekend. I love you, buddy. I mean, let's talk about these two, Boya and Crippa, because we kind of touched on them at the start of the show. But they have been fantastic on day 1. Going into day 2, do you think they'll be pleased with their performance from day 1? Or do they have that mentality where if they're not first, they're not happy and they're constantly wanting to improve?
I don't think anybody is going to be stopping until they're in first place. Even the players who are out in top 20, they're going to try their hardest to max out all those big games and get into first place. I don't think they're happy.
And what are your thoughts on Boya and Crippa going into today? Do you think they have a realistic chance of taking home that first place prize?
100%. 50 points average, just 1 point below VP right now. That's nothing. That's just one game, one good game when VP just falls off. And then they can put the marker on Vinny and Zexro, you know? So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, let's talk about today then. How do you think these opening games, these couple of rounds, are going to kick things off? Are we going to see Vinny and Zexro playing the same way as yesterday, or do you think that they might have in the back of their mind where they're kind of like, ooh, you know, maybe our drop spot's going to be challenged a little bit more? How do you think these initial rounds are going to go? Is it going to be much of the same we saw yesterday, or do you think we're going to see some surprises?
We'll definitely see some shakeups. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be able to challenge Vinny and Zexor on Viking Hill, but there's going to be shakeups all around the map. Everybody's looking for what's uncontested. Where can I go against somebody who I'm a little bit more confident against, as they could see the standings? And so we'll see. I think there's going to be a massive shakeup all around the map.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the overlay of the map from the boss, like straight off the bat, to see where is everyone landing. I'm looking at Paradise Palms, an example where Gemside and SSK just dominated everyone, especially Poviti and Zik from Ago, most likely might drop somewhere else. Nero and Tajovsky from Devils 1, the other Polish duo, actually have a hard time as well. They might be changing it up. And then third duo from Poland, Whopping and Kicks, they got kicked their butts, you know.
Yeah.
In lucky landing, so they might be changing it up as well.
Okay, we can see some of our day one duos there who picked up those victory royales, and someone we didn't touch on too much is Tux and Provoked. They found their way into endgame so consistently, constantly had that high ground towards the end, and just weren't able to convert some of those opportunities, but kept placing well, kept picking up eliminations, and for me, they have to be a dark horse coming into today.
They started very slow yesterday. They were playing well, but all of a sudden, I think in games 5 and 6, they just completely exploded with the victory royale and then the second place the next game after that against Aspect and Animal. That was fantastic to see them just kind of all of a sudden explode onto the standings.
And funny enough, you mentioned Sentinels, right? And they are just 6 points above Tux and Provoked, so they're pretty close to each other.
When all is said and done, they're going to look back at that and be like, "Wow, we were so close." And that 1v or that 2v2 there at the end could have made it all happen. It could have for whoever it was.
Okay, well, let's take another look at one of our players who's going to be vying out for those duos placements today. His name is Dementos.
I got first in the Fortnite since I was playing since season 1. I was just looking for some game to play, and then I found out Fortnite, and it was really interesting and exciting to play. My playstyle is kind of always different. I usually adjust to the situation I'm in. I prefer mostly playing defensive, kind of just waiting it out. The most important aspect of the game is understanding where you should be, build 90s, and then play some public matches. Solo squadding is really helpful. But that should be your priority. If you're in zone, you should be safe, and you should always look at the zone and the map. Most satisfying moment I had in a tournament was in summer skirmish in solo tournament, week 5. I won two games in a row, and that's a pretty big achievement because not many players have won even 1 game in skirmishes, and I have won 2 in a row. That's pretty nice feeling.
Okay, then another one of our players that we're going to be focusing on a lot today, and what he had to say. Not the best of performances yesterday as far as the top 10 is concerned, but we have to remember that we have 50 of the best duos in the world here, so there's not really such a thing as a bad performance, to be honest with you. But another duo I want to focus on before we get into our next game that I wanted to give a shout out to, because I know there's a lot of love out there in the community for them, is the X2 twins, right? They were very quiet at the start of the day, and we were kind of looking, how are these guys going to match up against the best in the world? But then they came out huge with that victory royale around game 6 or 7, and that's going to give them huge confidence going into today. What does a momentum moment like that as a player do for you going into today?
I feel they had to overcome a very huge challenge when it comes to mindset. They are coming from a different region completely different play styles, meta as well, and they had a game where I think that was FaZe that they faced in early mid-game. And they were in a contestation for 2 or 3 minutes. That did cost them practically the entire map, and they had to change it up in the future games. And I think they got it rolling at game 5 or 6 when they started being aggressive, but aggressive while being clever.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to change it up and really get into the flow of things. And they're kind of leading the pack along with the Brazilian guys for the unknown international scene. A lot of the Asian teams, Fax, Fox, and Aim Hero, they're contesting and tilted against Aiden and Nick Merckx all the time. They're not having the greatest, there they are right there, Nick Merckx and Aiden. They're not having the greatest of performances yet, but they're going to, again, switch things up, figure out, they saw the VODs, they know exactly the new tactics they need to be going for to be able to really rack up the points going into this last day.
And you can see here we're just moments away from getting into our round number 8. It's the first round of today. It's time to get into this one. It's time to kick off the duos action. The crowd are loving it. Gentlemen, take it away.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Here we go. Round number 8. First game on day 2. And we're starting in Vinny and Zexro. We can see already they're going to Viking Village. Nothing has changed for them.
Look at the radar, though. Are there any teams on their tail? I don't see anything. I don't see anything.
There's a lot down in that area that could be targeted. Polar Peak, Frosty Flights, and all the little houses all around in this snowy area. And here we are, Jamside and SSK7 as well. Towards Paradise, nothing changing just yet.
And they seem to be alone there, although that orange arrow just on the north of the map might indicate that we'll be jumping with them. Look at the beautiful volcano in the background.
That's actually such a crazy shot to see that volcano in the background just kind of oozing evil out. And so on to Paradise they go, and they had such great success here yesterday.
They're completely alone. This is a treasure map right now for them.
They've got to be happy going into it, and they did win this pretty much every single time from yesterday. So they're got to be happy with this. This is going to be a great setup, especially if this continues to stay the way that it is.
Yeah, if you go into day 2.
Hold on.
Wait, okay.
Yeah, Zexro, Vinny against Aim Hero and Fax Fox. They moved from Tilted onto Viking Hill. This is interesting now. There's a split. This is actually the normal split that you see, getting that main house and then getting one of the sides while the other team gets the other side. Let's see what happens. This is going to be such an important engagement for Vinny and Zexro to win this right off the bat, to push them off and say, hey guys, no, please, you guys aren't going to be able to do anything against me.
No one has a shotgun right now. That's a huge thing. That will factor how they will approach the fight. The angles, the closeness of the fighters will be different. But now we jump to Frosty Flights where Stompy, that's something that the fight that was occurring every single time.
We saw this fight every single game. Shinken and Stompy doing well against the Heretics boys, and typically it ended with one person kind of sneaking away, but we'll see here, Frosty Flights. This fight was so important yesterday for Shinken and Stompy. We'll see if they can continue their success against these boys.
We heard some grenade launchers being pushed into the buildings, which is very, very dangerous. But now we're jumping to
Sunny
the new
Steps.
location. Yes.
Seth, this is the same fight we were seeing yesterday as well. Marana and Include versus Seth and Madsen here. Sunny Steps, such an important location that was added in Season 8. The big pyramid that you can see behind them right there. So much loot is available, and Seth and Madsen actually get one of the side places.
Nirvana getting tagged, no shields to replenish his HP, but we have, well, almost, I wanted to say that everyone has a good loadout, but look at that, no shotgun.
Yeah.
And now we're jumping back to Frosty Fights, and that's the end of the fight. E11 is going victorious here, and a golden shorty as a prize. That's a huge win for them, since we know they're in the top 10. They're looking forward to day 2, so this is a crucial fight for them.
That's a really good start there for Stompy and Shinken as they gain the confidence to continue taking that fight and really mop up Frosty Flights and grab all of the nice loot there. There's so much. Zexro and Vinny, they disengaged, actually.
I think they did. 0 eliminations on their account, so they were playing safe. I think that's a very conscious decision, since, you know, they're first in the standings. They see someone contested their spot. They were like, we're not going to risk our first spot just to take a 50-50 fight in the beginning, especially if they had a bad loadout.
Exactly. So we actually see, I'm looking at Loot Lake right now, and Tilted Towers. Tilted only has one team there. And Loot Lake, Mitro and Kuna, possibly against Zayt and Saf, as usually does occur, but they really haven't been fighting. We've seen both of those teams go towards endgame, just taking a little shots. Nick Merckx and Aiden getting Tilted uncontested completely by themselves.
That's interesting, because we had 3 teams here before, right? And now they're just, this is like Paradise Palace, but this is Paradise Tilted.
Yep, Paradise Tilted indeed. And that's such a good boon for them. They're going to be able to grab so much loot, especially before people start rotating into Tilted, as they usually do.
Look at the loadout. Do they have 12 Sting Grenades, if I'm not mistaken, right now? And Clingers. No, he actually switched.
That's such a massive...
But it's a huge, huge utility item.
Indeed it is. That utility is so important, especially to, as people start turtling up, you can really focus on them and bring a lot of attention to them.
They were going to go out of Tilted with maximum mats on every single thing. Wood, brick, metal, it's super easy to get in Tilted when you're just alone and you have those 3 minutes to just harvest everything you need.
Yeah, that's a good start from them. Hopefully we'll see them towards the mid-game doing what they do best, Aiden pushing into people. Those are such exciting moments. And here, Boyer and Kripa, Happy Hamlet against the Vitality guys, also somewhere on the top of the standings as well.
Although I think E11 is already looking forward to rotation with a quad crusher, because we have seen one of the players actually jump on a vehicle, and we don't see them being aggressive towards each other. There's the quad crusher being put in a safe position so no one can take it.
Yeah, reserving that for later. And here, Happy Hamlet, in such a large location with so much loot that you could split it quite properly here, History and Fa.
The representatives of Brazil right now. What is this loadout? That is absolutely bonkers. A rocket launcher, heavy snipe with a rocket launcher. That is deadly
crazy.
Combo. And
Very
you know what's
crazy.
Funny? They broke top 20 on day one, so they're looking forward to be in the prize range. They need to be consistent today, but history was already like impressive during the solo competition on Friday, so I'm looking forward to them.
Looking forward to them indeed, and they actually have this. They have all this loot that they just found out of Fatal, and they're going to be able to actually move onto this mountain over here. The pirate outpost that was, you can definitely see he's looking for it. There's going to be more loot to find there, and whooping and Skix moving into Tilted on a moving truck. Here they are, taking over Brick Building and Els.
I really wonder how did they get here, because they were jumping on Lucky Landing, but I was saying that they're getting the buzz handed to them. So they switched it up, but I have no clue how did they get into Tilted Towers right now. Maybe an early rotation, so they can avoid fights. I wanted to just briefly touch on the inventory that we have seen in the Brazilian duo. They didn't have an AR in the inventory, and I think that's a very conscious decision as well. Because in the late game, you don't really benefit from having an AR in your loadout, but an SMG can be so much better.
Especially when it starts to get in those close quarters, tight engagements. They are so useful at getting those chip damage when you need to, and we saw how that was effective yesterday. Here, Camo and Issa against Zeppin and BloodX. They have that rift to go. They're not going to fight. Oh, FaxFox and Aim Hero chasing down Vinny and Zexero.
They are just going for the blood from Viking towards the south.
Right off the top of Viking, they're going to try to engage here. They do have the high ground. They were pushing unexpectedly, but the bottle rocket's coming in from Vinny. Nice placement there. He's actually going to be able to knock this down, I believe. They're going to have to back up. And so, FaxFox with this. Oh, nice shot there. Really nice onto Vinny. The silence.
Silence USP is a beast.
There, he does catch himself, but he's going to build right back. He needs to catch himself again. No, he's not going to be able to. He's all the way down on low ground, and now they're split. Aim here on FaxFox. One on low ground, one back behind. We'll see now he's building back up, going right back towards his teammate. But now Vinny and Zexero have the slow high ground and the slow push. Look at these ramps. This is both of them kind of doing it to each other.
Nice angles, though. It's going to be pretty rough to like disengage pretty quick from this. Oh, there's the turret. With this high ground, pretty hard to get a shot on the guy in the turret. So this is a really well placed.
But somebody up on Viking, actually. That's Bowman and Alpha. They came over the side, possibly over from Snobby. That's a nice play from them. They're going to put their stamp on this fight as well.
Vinny and Zexero need to disengage from this. If they want to fight for the first place, they need to play safe this game.
Yeah, you saw earlier they didn't have the shield when they started running away from Viking, and now they have a little bit, but they're still not happy with the disengagement. They're going to back off. FaxFox and Aim Hero stuck between them. But good thing Alpha and Bowman came there for Zexero, especially if they didn't want to fight that. Yep. See, they do have the rift to go as well. They don't want to spend that.
They don't. They definitely don't want to do it. But if they're going to get pushed again, I think there's going to be a necessity. At the same time, Vinny, no, that was Zexero actually with the suppressed sniper rifle. He can take some shots at Navi because I was sitting in one wall with two windows.
That's for sure. Actually, we see so much different stuff going on around the map. Fnatic actually taking shots at the Japanese duo coming out of Loot Lake right now. And they're chasing down Hoopback and Skix as well.
He didn't hit a single bullet there.
So dangerous now. Such a precarious position in this ravine if they go down, especially because Skix and Hoopback on their front. And then Crazy Llama and Rizart and Crazy.
It's kind of interesting to see Fnatic rotating through the river right now because it's such a tough position to be in if you're getting pinched from Tilted Towers and from the hills above, and you're following Hoopback and Skix. Like you're in the shadow, so you can get pinched from 3 different angles.
One thing I was already starting to see was there's nobody really going down. We saw a lot of early fights, but a lot of also early disengagements, and starting to see a little bit reminiscent of that Polish tournament we saw on the first day here out in Katowice.
Well, you know, it's getting serious right now. And remember, we have the Storm Surge mechanic in place as well. Getting the early damage is very important to your livelihood later in the later stages of the game.
Yeah. And I think here, Boyer and Kripa onto Mitro. Let's see, so many players already positioning towards the center. They're doing such a nice job. There's Milan and Smeef as well. Airwax actually takes down Skix in the action feed. He was down in that ravine that I talked about, such a dangerous position, and that's what happens. You end up getting picked off because there's two sides that they can just shoot off from high ground. Yep. So, again, everybody starting to actually, this is first circle still. The second circle is just revealed, and they're all just already sitting towards the center, towards such a good position.
Well, if you can, we actually did said yesterday a lot of times, if you can get a central circle and replace something to just not lose your mats for the later rotations, it's so crucial to your good positioning in the stages of the game, especially when placement points are so important.
And think about this right now. VP, SSK7 and Jamside dropping Paradise, and look at where they are already, all the way up on Polar Peak. Such a fast rotation to get to the center, and that's what is so important about getting over here.
Yeah. Heavy sniper available as well. If you can get high ground on Polar Peak, that's one of the best weapons to have. Since a lot of people, even though they sit, like, you know, below a cone, you can still get those shots on those people and get that damage done. But with 2 rifts to go, they're looking fantastic going into the later stages of the game.
And I'm really surprised now how many players are still alive. Yesterday we were seeing 70 at this stage of the game, 70 or 80. And everybody's starting to try to get that damage. You can see he's trying to get above threshold as well.
You know, the one problem is the Storm Surge is still active when there's 50 people alive. Now we have 90.
Yeah.
Going into the 3rd stage of the game, it's gonna be very chaotic. Everyone below the thresholds will have to be aggressive unless they have utility items that can deal some small amount of damage through the walls.
That's for sure. And now the zone coming over. Actually, he gets taken out. Kinstar takes out 0-7. And now also Tux takes out Mushway. So he's going to disengage, get away from there. There's so much action there. We can see
the Storm Surge is active. People are going to be aggressive now. We can see Tajovsky killing Aiden, Bladex going down to Aspect.
So much action on the side. Oh, the X2 twins getting ticked by Storm Surge as well, so they're going to start pushing on the forward.
Yeah, they need to deal the damage.
Going in the zone and grab that loot that they just picked up, or they just picked off. We'll see. They need to get a little bit of a damage here. Let's see. They're still getting ticked.
They're still getting ticked, and after 1 LM from the Storm Surge, the other part of the duo is still safe.
Yeah, and there are a lot of elims going down to that feed. We'll see if Storm Surge is going to go away now, but no. The X2 twins are going to push through, and they did actually just fell to Storm Surge. Yeah, there.
So Jordan is down. We have seen Fnatic is also down. Jarl and Power are unfortunately eliminated from the game already. We have 73 players alive at this stage of the game. 17 people just disappeared from the map. Huge change.
Here, Zexro and Vinny so close to Zipan. We saw Aspect actually in the elim feed take out BloodX, and now they're pushing on to Zipan. They know there's, looks like 2 solos next to them, and they're not too far from zone. There's still 13 seconds till it starts moving, but they can make their way over to Frosty Flights and grab that fairly quickly.
Well, this is an interesting situation. Vinny and Zexro had to use that rift. Oh, they're actually staying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotta find the extra loot that they picked off. His teammate BloodX going down earlier. They know he was there, not going to use that rift. They have a relatively safe look. There's the high ground in between that's going to block a lot of stuff. So now, Rizart and Llama on Skite and Vato. Skite and Vato staying in the zone. They don't want to engage into Llama and Rizart. They want to be safe as they rotate in. We'll see what kind of mobility they have to get through.
You know what's so important? This circle is actually half in the water, so everyone will be very close to each other. This is going to be very chaotic. The Frosty Flights in the middle of the circle, but so is the water.
It's almost as if we're already at that half-in, half-out zone.
Yeah, it's basically the next zone already. So everyone without mobility items on the edge of the zone right now might get a really big sentence on them.
Man, this is shaping up to be such a crazy endgame. Nick Merckx, he's by himself. He does get taken out by Tajovsky and Nero. They found him just sneaking in the zone.
But they're being tagged again by another team that are being gate-kept at the edge of the zone. Who is that?
Llama.
Rizard and Llama. They're going nuts on them.
Ooh, nice shot there with the pump, and he's going to be able to take out Tajovsky as well, but there's so many players already inside the zone taking shots at them as well, so this is such a dangerous position for them. Llama and Rizard need to get in right now. You can see Vivid and Poach taking some shots at them as well. Nero actually takes down Llama, while he's behind him, and he goes down in the zone as well. Rizart not going to make it through. There's an elim for Poacher Vivid.
I feel like they had to go for that fight because they needed the HP for the elims so they can go further down the line. But
that valley's shaking them up, and now we get the next zone as well. Zayt and Saf doing a little bit of a mountain goat on the side, but we're still getting pushed towards the side of the map. Lothar's freaking out over here.
I'm freaking out because the minimap is showing me the next zone, and it's, again, half in the water. The landing line on Frosty Flights is in the middle of the circle, but still we have so much of the area in the water, so it's gonna be so crowded. All of those people will be next to each other, and they're gonna need to move.
And now, actually, this is such a tough position for Vinny and Zexro. They're both split right now. They're not quite in zone. They have to edge a little bit in, but Vinny is so low, and he's sitting underneath such a strong team. It's Skyte and Vato. That's so dangerous for them. They might be in trouble going towards the next zone. Again, look, you can see it all on the mini-map right now, all half off of the map. It's crazy.
I don't think I ever seen a circle like that in any tournament setting. So this is going to be interesting. It's something new to experience here.
That's for sure. And one of the teams that I'm thinking is having a good time right now is Stompy and Shinken. They could sit here in Frosty Flight the entire map. That probably has never happened for them.
Yeah, most likely. That is so true. They're just chilling.
They're just chilling, legit chilling. Now, Bizzle and Timo, this is a big fight onto SSK7. If they can take him out, I'm not sure if I see Jamside anywhere. He's maybe down already.
They might have been split, you know, in such a chaotic here rotation. Sometimes it happens, but they had a rift with them, so you never know.
And one of the things, though, Bizzle and Demo, they're sitting right outside that top 10 right now. They know who is ahead. If they spotted Jamside go down, they know who that player is, so they're going to do everything they can. But Boyer actually taking out Funk Bomb in the background. He just got picked up, and he goes right back down, so unfortunate for him. As the rotates start, here's Crip and Boyer, our third-place team. Looking for Nate here, right on the edge of zone. Nate's got to edit out now. Boyer a little bit too anxious to get that. He gets chunked back, though. Nate doing all he can to stay alive here.
For Crippa, that was a big target because he knows he's alone. So getting him instant gives him the 50 HP on the elim.
Somebody ended up using the elim, and unfortunately there for Crippa, he went into the tower, and that's so difficult to get down on, and he goes down because of it, because he had to rotate through the stairs. Then eventually he jumped off and tried to use his own stairs, but now Nate making his way into this. He's actually very familiar with Frosty Flights. Dropping here solo. Oh my goodness, that shot there from Norwood on the scram.
Going through those buildings might be a death sentence as well.
I think Boyer doesn't have any mats. Look how he's playing.
Boyer has 18 HP as well. No mats, 19 HP. Vinny and Zexro, what a fantastic position. They made it. They made it to the late game.
And guess what? They get the zone as well. Such a nice play, nice positioning there. They just inched their way forward. They knew they didn't have to go any way forward. And now, again, no shields. They're in a precarious position, and they're on the side of zone. They're trying to not bring any attention towards them at all. We'll see how they set up. There's 72 Hours and Chap as well in a nice position on top of all the buildings and the warehouses.
You know what's funny? The zone will currently move to the big building on Frosty Flights, where all those traps are inside already. You have no time to destroy them when the zone will be moving inside of it. So if someone will be inside, big, big danger for them.
That's such an important point. People have to be very careful. Half in, half out zone. I feel like this game is not let up. It's showing us so much action, even though there's not really the amount of fights that we saw early game yesterday compared to today. But now all the way down to 45 players. We'll see now what they're going to do as the half in zone, half out zone starts to move. Everybody needs to make their way towards that position. X2 Jesse in the background there.
He's alone. Jordan was already taken out by the Storm Surge. Boyer still safe, sitting with 18 HP on the bottom.
That's actually crazy. We'll maybe check in with him in terms of materials, but what I said, Stompy and Shinken, they haven't moved a single time. They're already in zone. Yeah.
0 builds available for Boyer.
Nice play there, but again, he is in zone, so we'll see what he can do. And we saw Winter Royale, he had a very precarious position, and he make do with that hand cannon. Here he has 2 pump shotguns, so he's in probably a little bit more, but we know what magic Boyer can work.
Windwalker gets taken out by Nikoff in the meantime. SSK just got the high ground. How did they do that?
Again!
He was on the bottom. How did he get that high ground?
Every time, he's just suddenly there. And there we can see the aftermath of Nikoff and Airwax taking out Windwalker. Tomo there as well. Tomo, one of our very consistent players, provoked in Tux.
We also see Liquid being on top of the high ground in the middle of the next zone. Vinny still alive with Zexro. Vivid and Poach being under heavy fire right now by LDLC.
There, yeah, you can see SSK7 in the background, but one of the issues there is the zone is starting to move away from him. It's going back north. So that high ground take not going to be good for him. Because now everybody's moving north. Everybody's going to use their mobility as the zone starts. And Issa and Camo on high ground, the controller gang. We haven't seen much of them. Oh no, Vinny's going to go down the zone there. Tried to make a zone rotation. It's not going to work out for him, but Zexro's still up. He has 1 HP. 1 HP, and he's going to go down to Vato. That's Skix and Vato. That's Skite and Vato, sorry.
Place.
Flexi and Dementos take high ground from, oh my goodness, Camo onto Antiza. Svenos' partner. They're going to start rotating in. It's going to be slightly on a hill, so they're trying to get a little bit of high ground as they can. They're split. I don't see where Issa is. Again, picking up the loot there from Antiza. And we picked up Bowman as well. They're having a fantastic game, but here Flexi and Dementos on high ground.
They have a lot of builds available as well, still on the high ground. They have such a huge advantage, but you can see everyone migrating towards west of the map, sorry, north of the map.
Yeah, and they're, again, just edging their way in, not playing all the way towards zone. It's going to go back west.
They still have a launch pad available, but it's not even needed with that position that they just fought through.
Yeah, they're Vivid and Poach. We saw them rift in earlier, maybe launch pad in, and they're having a good day so far going towards that end game. This is coming down to it. 21 players remaining. We're in the top 11. 72 hours in chat. They're so low. It's going over the mountain, though, and they need to get up if they can because they're low on HP. Blax picks out Vato. DMO and Bizzle still up as well.
Gambit looking really good right now, but Camo and Issa fighting through the builds are not their own this time.
Vivid there looking for a little bit of a peak box. Poach so low on Camo again! Oh my goodness! He took out Kuna and Mitro. That's such a big fight. That's unbelievable for Camo and Issa. And there, Bizzle takes out Vivid as well. You can see Shinken behind him, Poach still up. Camo and Issa doing such a good job. They're on the mid ground and getting so many elims.
You can see Shinken just going up and down on that.
Another one. That's another one for Camo and Issa. On to Stompy. Shinken going down as well. He's so low, and no, Issa goes down. So finally that Reign of Terror. It's Flexi and Dementos inching their way in. He's got to be careful. They're connected to that metal. Such an intense game off the bat. Camo's still up. They have 10 elims total, and they're already in that third place. He's shooting up. He knocks them all out. No way! Almost gets the launch pad, but there's only one player left to sneak off. He's flying, and Camo and Issa, he actually finds a spot up above on the mountain. He has so many minutes remaining. He can still do this. Camo needs to go up. He's trying. He's trying. The AR is maybe too high, too much to deal with, but no, he gets up with the double wrap. The clingers are coming out. Can he actually get above? And no, 7 builds remaining for Nikov. This is such an intense 1v1. One shot on him, and he knocks him down. Here's the SMP. Oh my goodness. What a crazy first game here on day 2 as Camo and Issa absolutely dominate the server, but not able to close it out. What a game.
Incredible. And you know what? He kept those 3 clingers the entire late game, and it was crucial for his victory royale. Insane.
Just nuts. That I was so excited for Camo there to get up over the high ground with the remaining builds that he had, but he wasn't just able to do it. The clingers knocked him down again, but that was so close. So close. There. What a game. What a game indeed.
First time we had a circle like that, and it just delivered so many emotions. So many teams were just in a great, fantastic position. But Vinny and Zexro, they finished 17th. They're losing a lot of average points.
I mean, could we have asked for a better start to the day as far as what's going to happen is concerned? I mean, I got to give a shout out to, firstly, obviously, Nikov and Airwalks for an incredible start to the day. Big victory royale, but controller gang, baby, I'm all about it. I'm a console guy myself, so I mean, what was it? The end of that game was just insane. It was insanity.
We need to see a replay of that Camo double kill. That clutch was absolutely insane. But in general, I would just want to see the standings after this game, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what I want to see as well. Obviously, so many things to talk about in that game. Let's talk about the start of it, because we were kind of focusing Vinny and Zexro and what was going to happen on their drop. And, you know, they got challenged pretty soon after they got it. I mean, there was 2 teams either side, and they managed to make... I was actually genuinely surprised at one point when we got towards the end game that they were still in contesting. I think we were all like, how have they made it into the end zone here? It's like it was a crazy bit of movement from them.
Shambles all the way through. They got contested by Aim Hero and Faxbox, who came off of Tilted, and they pushed him off. They actually rotated down the waterfall. They knew that the waterfall area was still relatively uncontested because remember, yesterday Vinny was dropping there. Zexra was taking Viking all to himself. So they knew they could have that path coming down off of the mountain.
Before we break it down anymore, gentlemen, I think we should probably hear from our winners from the last game. So we're going to send it down to the floor because they're with Adam.
Thanks so much, buddy. I'm joined by Nikov and Airwax, our Game 8 winners, everyone. Guys, you must feel like this is the perfect start to the day. How are you feeling right now?
Good, really good.
Talk us about the end game there as well. You guys finished with 6 eliminations, some great points for the scoreboard. Tell us about the end game.
Let's go. He doesn't speak English.
Oh, that's fine. So tell us about the end game. What happened at the end there? How did you win it?
Well, he just clutched. That's it. He played really good, and the jump pad just saved the game. That's why we won.
So last night as well, obviously, you played yesterday. Last night, did you watch VODs? Did you kind of look back at footage or just kind of talk amongst yourselves, get some rest, and come back today? What did you do?
I watched some games just to see the rotation and where to go if we're in bad position. So yeah, just analyze the game and that's it.
And obviously competing here at Katowice Royale, how is it playing against all these other players? How do you guys feel playing against all this great competition?
Feels good. It's really hard. We got invited last second, and doing a victory royale is good.
It's absolutely brilliant. One more time, give up your Game 8 winners, everyone. Nikov and Airwax. Well done, guys. Congratulations. Well done. I think you are some great points on the scoreboard there. It all counts now. It all counts. Mark, back to you guys. What a game.
Fantastic stuff there from Nikov and Airwax. I mean, they deserved that win, and he was saying, you know, my teammate just popped off towards the end. Sometimes it's a nice place to be, isn't it, when you've just been eliminated and you just sit there watching your teammate just destroy everything at the end game.
Yep. You talked about it, that clinger play towards the end. That was really what knocked it back down and kind of gave no more hope for Camo and Issa towards the end. But when he knocked him down, he talked about the launch pad play. I'm not sure if we saw him specifically, but we saw so many players trying to place that launch pad on the ground. And
he was like 1 meter away from actually nailing that move.
And the other thing was we saw how he got the high ground. He actually landed right on the edge of that mountain. And that was so critical because if he didn't do that, he would have been gliding the entire time. He would have been gliding the entire time, easily shots to get.
And I wanted to ask you, Lothar, as well about the end game, because we heard there, you know, mobility being so important. That was the reason that they felt they won that game, having that launch pad towards the end. But you were in shock at one point when you saw the circle going half over the water and half over land, and you were like, in those situations, mobility becomes even more prevalent for these players because you're kind of squeezed and forced into a tighter zone than you would imagine being in that particular situation. How do you decide then when to try and save your mobility, or do you have to use it to try and stay alive?
Fortunate for most of the players, even when you don't have the mobility, most of the map, even though it was half in the water, was pretty flat. So when the map is flat, it's easier to rotate because you can easily build tunnels, like, you know, the signature Bizzle tunnel as an example, without losing momentum when you just move on the lower ground. And I think that's the moment when you have launch pad, you're like, we can still use our mats. We can still use our mats to just go safe. But if you don't have mats, but you have mobility items, you need to use them, but then you're getting like really in a bad position late game.
Well, let's have a look at these duo standings. You can see there, Vinny and Zexro hold on to first place, and I think they might have actually extended their lead by making it towards the end game. Jamside and 7 SSK7 still in second place. They're Cripper and Boya, though, they've moved up into third place now. Zay and Saf, big performance from them as well, and Shinken and Stompy round out the top 5. But gentlemen, I mean, looking down here, Tomo and Item moving around to 7th place. Demo and Bizzle made it towards the end game as well. They had a pretty big game, but obviously that big victory royale coming in for Nikov and Airwax towards the end. That's huge.
Camo and Issa all the way up to 13th now.
Yeah, they made a big jump. Baby. They make a big jump, but so did Airwax and Nikov. Yep. They were getting hyped, you know, on day 1, but didn't deliver the results yet. But now, on day 2, with that victory royale, we're looking for another, you know, just good team to break that top 10, maybe even top 5.
You can see here, looking down, we've got Far in History, the Brazilian duo. They're just inside the top 25, but I've got to go inside the mentality here and pick apart Vinny and Zexro, because they were our leaders coming into today. They're obviously leading now after game number 1. But they didn't have the landing maybe they would have wanted and had all day yesterday. They were contested pretty early on in a few battles. Do they think about changing things up? I mean, they did manage to get towards the end game, or does that sort of thought process come into your head a little bit?
They did get into the end game, but the problem is, they didn't get any loot. If you take a look at the mid game, they were just strolling away with a gray assault rifle and like 32 bullets.
Yeah, they got really lucky there to actually get the edge of the map. Obviously, it was towards Frosty Flights. Viking Hill is also on that one side. And they were able to skirt down the side, and that makes it so that they don't have to use the materials that a lot of the other players are going to use. And they definitely don't want to be doing that again. They want to be having loot. They want to be having maximum materials so they can make those plays for the middle of the circle.
Okay, guys, it's been a fantastic time. Sorry to cut you off. It's time for us to go for a break. Round number 8 is done and dusted. It started off the way we all wanted it to start off. Plenty of excitement to come. We'll be back in a few minutes.